Hello and welcome to Become the Teapot. I'm Iain.
And so am I. And this is a podcast where normally we compare comic book adaptations to their source material. But this episode we're doing something ever so slightly different.
This week we're covering the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We're your hosts in a half shell.
And because there's about 1 million different adaptations, we had to make a choice.
We may have made a bad choice.
That remains to be seen, but we did go with the 2014 live action film for some reason.
So, are we comparing it to the original comic?
Nah.
Why not?
I don't know. But for some reason, I chose to go with the more recent IDW run, which was first published in 2011.
So this would have come out around the same time they were making the film?
Exactly. So instead of comparing the adaptation to the source material, we're going to be looking at two adaptations based on the same franchise at roughly the same time.
Interesting.
Yep. But can you rephrase that to be more thematically appropriate?
Tubular?
Better. You ready?
Ready.
Then let's go ninja, go ninja, go! So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were fairly ubiquitous as we were growing up. I imagine most people of our age group will have some familiarity with them. But what about you? How well acquainted are you with the Ninja Turtles?
Well, now more than I was. It was mainly for me the 90s cartoon.
Right.
That's the only thing that I've seen, apart from these films, or this film that we'll be talking about, because I had seen it before. I haven't seen any of the original films from the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much just the TV show.
Oh, right. Okay, so you weren't massively into it, is that right? Because I think a lot of people of our age group would have been Power Rangers, Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
you know, sort of those big trifecta, and then a bit later, Pokemon.
Gotta catch 'em all.
Exactly, yeah. So you would say, of those, Turtles was never your main jam?
Yeah, I think it was more Marvel back in that day, so X-Men, Spider-Man, that kind of thing.
The cartoons?
Yeah, cartoons. But yeah, I did watch it. I know a lot of the lore, the sort of history behind it and stuff. Again, just from the cartoon and just from online reading/watching.
Yeah, because obviously when we were growing up, there was about 4 channels, so we all watched the same cartoons all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll get on with the preamble then. I'm going to do a single preamble for both the film and the comic because the central premise doesn't really change throughout any of the iterations of the Ninja Turtles. It is based on a comic book by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are the world's most fearsome fighting team. They're heroes in a half shell and they're green. Splinter taught them to be ninja teens so that when evil Shredder attacks, these turtle boys don't cut him no slack. And that's pretty much the premise of everything.
Of all of it.
I think the name, it's one of the beautiful things about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise is that the name sums up exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah, pretty much. It does what it says on the shell.
Exactly.
Yes, so you've said before that you like an origin story and the beginning of a journey. So what are your thoughts on this particular origin story as in the film?
As in the film, yeah, okay. So, the film is absolute horse piss. It is absolute rubbish. I mean, Hayley and I, we went to the cinema around the time that this came out, and we had the options of either watching Guardians of the Galaxy for a second time or going to see this. And based on the trailers and everything around it, we decided to go see Guardians of the Galaxy for a second time.
Yep, cool.
And I've got to say, when it finally came out and I did watch it on streaming, I did not regret my decision.
Yeah, I don't think I saw it in the cinema, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a good film. It's
no,
not.
You're right.
Okay, I'm glad you agree with me because you have got a tendency to like absolute crap films. So, what were your thoughts of this as a film?
Well, I was really putting off watching this film. I think I watched it on Thursday, and yeah, we record on a Sunday, so I left it quite late to watch it. I don't know why, I just did not want to watch it.
I know why.
It's terrible. It's not the most Michael Bay film ever, but he was only the producer, not the director. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, I mean, it's not directed by Michael Bay, but it might as well be, because it's clear he's had his pervy little fingers all up in it. You know, it's got all of the same problems that I've got with the Transformers franchise, you know, the films. All of the problems I've got with that are present here, from the ugly character design, the terrible quote-unquote comedy, to that weirdly overt sexualization of the only female character in what is ostensibly should be a children's film. It's just weird.
A family film. Yeah, the turtles themselves look so weird, and it annoys me so much.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were doing. I think, well, no, this would have come out before Batman v Superman, but the what do you call it from Batman v Superman? The bad guy in it.
Oh, yeah, Doomsday.
Doomsday, yeah. They look like Doomsday, which is weird because they came out first. I don't know. But they just don't look... They look scary and odd and weird and not... Like we said, it's a family film, or it should be a family film.
Yeah.
They don't look family-friendly to me.
It reminds me of... Do you remember when Sonic came out a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Sonic came out a few years ago, and the first rendition of Sonic as a character in all the trailers, everyone absolutely hated. There was a massive backlash about it.
Terrifying.
Yeah. And then people kicked off, made their own versions of it, and then the studio took that on board and went back and edited it.
Yeah.
The same thing I remember happened with this, and people were like, this is terrible, and made their own mock-ups of it. And all it included was just sort of adding the turtle snout that they have in the comics to these designs. And they looked...
Problem solved.
Yeah, they looked a lot better. It just goes to show there's certain studios that will take on board criticism like that and some that won't. And here it seems that they just went, no, I'm going to double down with my ugly design of these characters, just like I've done with the Transformers, where everything's just a messy blob of mechanical whatsits.
Yeah. It's just a waste of time, I think. I mean, I didn't hate it.
I did.
I mean, maybe I did. I don't know. I think I would rather watch the Green Lantern film over this. At least that has the Reynolds charm, where this film has no charm.
Well, it's got a central protagonist, which this film didn't really have. The Turtles aren't introduced until about 25 minutes into the film, apart from that opening exposition dump animation that you get. It's then 25 minutes of April O'Neil sort of acting, again, quote unquote. And then you finally meet the Turtles, and they're all just sort of vague stereotypes rather than actual characters.
I think Megan Fox was a great choice for April. Spot on acting. I mean, perfect casting.
I cannot think of another person who could have played the role of attractive female that all the men ogle any better than that.
I know, I am joking, but I want to make that point clear that I am joking. She's bloody awful.
I was worried
and she's just so stupid as well. I mean, to jump towards the end of the film, when they're all trapped in the glass cabinet things, she needs to inject the turtles with adrenaline.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do I do? What do I do? There's clearly a big button on there that says adrenaline injection.
Yeah.
And she's like, which one do I press? That one. The one that's flashing in front. Yeah. Poorly written, poorly acted. Just...
Well, they sort of make out that she's cleverer than everyone around her, and that's why she's the only one who's discovered this thing. But the problem is the writing is too stupid to get that point across. So it doesn't work, because you're trying to say that this character is clever, but nothing in the script indicates that she is intelligent. We're just meant to believe it because other characters say she is.
Oh, that old classic tell and don't show.
Yeah, you get it so much whenever someone says, wow, they're amazing. And you think, yeah, okay, well, you can just show that if you want. I don't need a character to point that out, because generally speaking, if they have to have that in the script, it means they're not amazing.
Someone that I did forget was in this film, and I literally was a little bit shocked, or shell-shocked. Was Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, that's weird.
She's in here, apparently. Completely forgot about that.
Well, I'm not surprised, because she does nothing and has no impact on the plot.
Yeah, she's just there. Oh no, she fires April.
Yeah.
That's it.
Rightly so, quite frankly.
I've got a story. Okay, what's your proof? Oh, a blurry picture and some spray-painted symbols. Yeah. Right?
It's when she walks into the team meeting the night after, and she says, okay, well, let's go talk. And she went, no, I think everyone wants to hear this. And then she gives a big speech in front of everyone, and then they all don't believe her. It's like, you look like an absolute muppet. Why did you do that?
Stupid.
Yeah, I mean, she was in it, and then obviously you've also got William Fichtner from The Dark Knight, from Heat, from lots of things. Prison Break, indeed, yeah. The most famous other actor in this, apart from the main characters. So clearly the bad guy, despite it being supposedly a twist about halfway through, because no one else is famous. Apparently there were a lot of rewrites around this film and reshoots after the initial negative reaction. So obviously they did take on some of those. Namely, the turtles were originally intended to be aliens.
I heard that.
Instead of turtles, which is why there's that one-off joke about aliens and then someone says, no, that's stupid.
Oh, it was meant to be funny.
I think lots of things in this were meant to be funny. And then apparently William Fichtner's character was also meant to be revealed to be the Shredder.
Mm.
And then obviously when that got negative reaction because it's whitewashing, but also just terrible, having him have a backstory where he said, well, I was raised in Japan and Seoul or something like that. and that's justification for him appropriating an Asian culture. But yeah, apparently all of that got scrapped and then they injected the other Shredder into the story afterwards. And I think you can tell it really doesn't hold together as a film, does it?
No, not at all.
The central plot is just, what is it? You know, the plan is to...
Yeah, it's not there.
No. It comes about in the last, 20 minutes that someone says, we're going to poison the populace so we can create a drug to cure it. And that's it.
And I'm pretty sure they stole the ending from The Amazing Spider-Man.
I was going to say, yeah, Amazing Spider-Man. It's exactly the same as that, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, even there's... Well, I know they're turtles and it's a lizard in that film, but... Same difference, I guess. I don't care enough.
Yeah, I don't think they were trying to make people into turtles.
They could have been. I didn't pay attention that much. I didn't care.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, maybe that was the original intention. Who knows?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on some of the characters there. So shall we go on to the main? Well, I say main. The turtles themselves. I'm sort of just going to rush through them because there's no real point in breaking them down because, as I say, they're just sort of vague stereotypes of their characters.
Yeah.
But you've got Leonardo, the leader, Donatello, the tech guy, you could even say he does machines. Raphael is cool but rude, and Michelangelo is a party dude.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, but that is it. That is literally all they have going, apart from they've made Michelangelo into a racial caricature for some reason.
He hits on April, but
yeah, that was weird.
in a weird way, she's like kind of their mum because she took care of them when they were kids, and it's a bit Oedipus complex there.
It's a bit odd, isn't it? And we'll go on to it a bit later because obviously the comic book has them being closer in age, April being a teenager as well, but we'll go on to that bit later. And I think that works better. It also works better if, the turtles aren't being overtly creepy and aggressively sexual towards the main character, but that's just me.
Yeah, probably not the best thing to do. But yeah, do you know who voiced the leader of the group? Leonardo.
Yeah, it was Johnny Knoxville, wasn't it?
Johnny Knoxville. I mean, that just says it all, really. If you want a nice, stern voice to lead your team, of course you go to the guy who created Jackass.
Yeah.
The best show on TV.
I remember reading... Actually, no, I heard it was an interview with Alan Ritchson, who's the latest, whatever he's called, John Reacher? Jack Reacher. He's the latest Jack Reacher.
Also played Hawk in Titans.
He did. And he played Raphael here. And I remember him talking in an interview about how he was basically, him and the other actors who played the Turtles were massively mistreated on set, were just left there after the shooting schedule finished and just absolutely treated like crap, like they were just sort of stand-ins.
They were offered these roles and it was compared to Andy Serkis in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, it's going to be different, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, blah, blah. They were told they couldn't do any press for the film, but then they told the press that the actors didn't want to do the interviews. So they were telling both sides two different things.
Yeah.
They weren't invited to the premiere. And yeah, he said it was the worst production experience of his life.
Yeah. And it's a Michael Bay produced film, and it's not the first time that an actor has spoken out against Michael Bay.
Yeah.
As I say, I know he technically didn't direct it, but all of the tropes are there in the film and apparently behind the scenes as well. I mean, I seem to remember the second one being better. I can't really remember. I haven't seen it in a long time. But just by virtue of not taking itself so seriously, I think the second one was better. But this one, it's attempting to be gritty, but it fails because the core premise is outlandish. It attempts to be funny, but fails because not one line of dialogue is funny. It attempts to be fun and exciting, but fails because all the action is a muddled dirge of noise and CGI. The characters are paper thin. Their designs are unappealing. The side characters are redundant. There are no stakes, emotional or otherwise. I could go on. It is an absolute waste of time.
Yeah. I mean, I think we found a film that's terrible that I don't like.
Well, we have found them before. I mean, we've talked before about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and it very much falls into that ballpark.
Yeah.
But this came out in 2014, so this came out post-Avengers, the height of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, really.
Yeah.
In the middle of it all. So it's got no excuse, really.
I think as soon as you attach a person, I say person, a thing called Michael Bay to a Turtles project, straight away you've just gone, no, that's going to be terrible. No.
Yeah, the producers of this film don't care, so they've got a big name director who does action. They haven't got someone who wants to take a core premise and make it something good. They haven't got a James Gunn who's passionate about comic books and said, direct a comic book movie. You know, whether you like his films or not, you can't deny that he has a lot of knowledge of those things. If you'd got someone who actually wanted to make a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, that would have been fine. You know, you would have had more passion behind it. The same thing happened with Transformers. Michael Bay clearly doesn't give a shit about them. He wanted to make the usual army guy films that he always makes. So half the films revolve around these boring human protagonists and with this terrible humour, you know, with Sam Witwicky and all of that, who I know was from the original cartoon, but the focus should have been the Transformers, and the focus here should have been the Turtles. But again, it wasn't. It was on these boring humans.
Also, the film is just packed with product placement everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like you can't have a scene and not see it. You know, Skype, Sony, Pizza Hut, Google, Toshiba, AT&T, Victoria's Secret. You're just watching it and going, oh, it's just an hour and a half long advert for various products that I don't care about.
Yeah. And I think this is why people like Michael Bay, or the studios like Michael Bay, because he makes them money. Because the films actually don't cost that much because he packs them so full of product placement that they pay for themselves.
Yeah.
Like the Skype one was especially bad because not only did it have Skype right on the screen in big letters, she puts the phone down, she goes, I was just Skyping my mum. Oh yeah, like humans talk.
So yeah, just before we move on, because I can see the vein on your neck about to explode.
Look, it's annoying as always. I'm not going to get too upset about it because there's been other adaptations of the Turtles and some of them bad, but we didn't really touch on it before. But growing up, I was a fan of the Turtles. You know, I did it was one of my favourite cartoons growing up, you know, this sort of biker mice from Mars and things like that. So when I see something like this, I do get a bit annoyed because it is an obvious cash grab by people who don't really care.
Yeah. I came away from this film thinking, right, did this film make me want to read the comics? And I kind of went, no, not really. It made me want to go back to the original cartoon of the 90s, or even, like you just said there, Biker Mice from Mars, which I think I was more into that as a kid than I was Turtles.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And to be honest, they probably aren't that good. If I went back and watched them now, there's a large amount of nostalgia involved. And so maybe a kid watching this in 2014 would think it was the best thing since sliced bread. But I like to think they're a little bit more discerning nowadays because there's so many things that they can enjoy, and this is not one of them.
No.
So, shall we move on to the comic then?
Yeah, all right. I think I'm done pissing all over this film.
So you said this film did not make you want to read the comic.
Ooh.
But obviously, the film is not based on the comic, as I said. Well, loosely it may be at best. But what were your first impressions of this comic book?
It took me a hot minute to get into it, but it's pretty easy reading, especially towards the start of it. It's nothing too heavy. It's a little bit heavy-ish towards the end, but nothing too sort of crazy. I think I read issue 1 to 4 straight off the bat, and I think it did a really good job of telling an origin story, but still points that I had to guess and I wasn't too sure on. It took me too long to realise that Hob, was it Old Hob or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
He was the alley cat.
Yeah.
I should have seen that coming, really.
You probably should have done.
But yeah, it also showed each turtle's personalities, which the film didn't, apart from telling us their personality. And I did like the fact that I could see it setting up future events with Raphael and Leonardo, because there's the origin story bit where like he feels abandoned, and because he wasn't raised and trained with all of them, I could see that maybe not in this run or not in this first 12 issues, but somewhere down the line that could build up to the confliction between those two characters.
Yeah.
Which I kind of enjoyed, where, you know, the film was just like, oh, he's being a dick. Oh, fair enough. But in this, I can see if that happens or when that happens, there's a reason behind it.
Yeah, I think that is what the comic does well. Like you say, it is a fairly light comic. It's an action-based comic, but I really enjoy what I've read so far. I've got the first 4 volumes of this, which each of them collects about 12 issues plus some change, you know, these one-shots and separate stories. But yeah, they're all really good fun. And I think what the comic book does well is taking all these different adaptations, various cartoons and comic books that have come before it, multiple generations, and combining them into one cohesive world that is clearly with a thought-out story going ahead. So like you say, they don't just try and lump the Raphael versus Leonardo stuff in early. They don't just lump all of the villains, Kang, Bebop and Rocksteady, all of that in at the beginning, they sprinkle it in early.
Yeah.
So you've got references to these things, but then they can reveal them slowly over the next, I think the first 100 issues is sort of one big storyline with these writers, essentially.
Okay.
And then you go into a second sort of wave. I think from issue 100 onwards becomes this sort of mutant town art. But yeah.
Anyway.
it tells a cohesive story. And I think that's what it does well, is actually going into something. It's kind of like the Ultimate Universe did, except not everyone is a dickhead. Is it takes characters you know and creates a new world as a jumping off point for new readers who can go into it knowing that it's going to be a fresh take on something they're familiar with.
Which, putting the film aside for a second, and it can stay there. The only origin that I knew about the turtles was from the comic, so they're just turtles, and I think maybe in a pet shop or something, or they fall out of a cage thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the ooze stuff drips onto them, and then they're in the sewers, then they become the turtles. Done.
Yes.
Where this is a bit of a change up. I can see where the film got the idea from, about they are experimented on and then they escape and whatever. But yeah, I think it does a good job at retelling the origin, but changing it enough.
Yeah.
So it's not just the artwork that's changed from the original.
Yeah. It uses that origin then to bring in April O'Neil earlier and explain why Raphael's personality is what it is, and bring in Casey a bit earlier, and just, from all this stuff that sort of came about over the first X amount of years of Turtles, just bringing it in from the beginning and sprinkling it throughout. Yeah, it sort of creates a sort of cohesive storyline right from the off, but like something, like you say, that's a little bit different to what you might be aware of if you've only seen the 90s cartoon, 80s cartoon, whatever it was.
90s? I don't know.
I think it was nice. The comic was 80s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a bit in it. I can't remember which issue it was now, but Splinter talks about reincarnation.
Yes.
When that first came up, I was like, right, it doesn't quite sit with me. Don't know how I feel about it. But as the story continues, I got on board with it. It works well. It's not just like a throwaway, the reason that you can do karate is because we are reincarnated. There we go, job done. It actually is a plot point, and it does explain going into when Shredder comes into it, issue 8, I think it is, or 9.
Yeah.
Which again, that's quite late for a 12 run with a couple of ones in between. That's quite late for him to appear.
Yeah.
So it all sort of ties together, and I think that this 12 issue run, again, and the little ones in the middle, it does work really well, and it's a nice sort of tight, cohesive storyline.
Yeah, and that whole plot point with regards to reincarnation is obviously, in my opinion, a better way of explaining why they are ninjas than finding a book in the sewer.
Yeah.
Which is what we get in the film.
Yeah.
I don't know who's throwing books down the sewer about karate or whatever it was, but...
That's where I put all mine.
Oh, is that? Yeah, when you're done with them, just down the sewer.
Yeah, and it all stays together in a nice book that you can read. It's not falling apart. It's not covered in poop.
And it's well known, if you find one book on ninjutsu, you can teach yourself to be a ninja.
Classic trope, that is.
I'm glad to hear you enjoyed it. I mean, I don't think people are necessarily going to get a lot out of this if they don't already have an interest in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think like Transformers or Power Rangers or whatever it is, there's a certain level of nostalgia required.
Yeah.
But I read a recommendation for this that said, if your favourite version of the Ninja Turtles is whatever you grew up with, then this is your second favourite. So basically they're saying if you take nostalgia out of the equation, this is the best version, the most complete version of this story that can be told.
Yeah, okay.
And I think it's probably true, because obviously the comic started off, Kevin Eastman, who also was involved with writing this, it started off as a bit of a pastiche of Daredevil and quite a scrappy little comic book. In a way, it was a sort of independent, they used to leave it on buses for people to find, It wasn't set out to be an ongoing story. It's just things they thought were good.
Well, just on that point there, I mean, the comparisons are stupid. I mean, I do like them. It's great.
Yeah.
But, apparently it's the same chemical, because that's come up in a comic previously. The chemical that blinded him went down in the drains and made the turtles.
So basically, it was the parody. It was essentially a parody comic, the first one. Is you see the truck crashing, the one that sprays chemicals in Matthew Murdock's eyes. It then dribbles down into the drain and mutates the turtles and the rat.
Yeah. You've then also got the hand in Daredevil.
Yep.
The foot in this. That's pretty similar. Daredevil was trained by a guy called Stick, these guys were trained by a guy called Splinter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably more in there, but those are the obvious ones.
I think there are, but yeah.
You know, that's pretty damn close.
Yeah, and it was, it was entirely intentional.
Yeah, it's then become this huge thing, over the years, that it's these 4 characters that, like you said, people our age, if you get them to name them, they probably will. They'll probably be able to name all of them.
Yeah, that might be the case afterwards. Well, I mean, I don't know. We're 30, well, both 33 now.
Yeah.
So it might be the case that later generations can. I know that there's various cartoons. They release one pretty much every 10 years, a new cartoon on this.
Yeah.
So I'm sure every generation is familiar. I don't know if it'll be as familiar, but yeah, it has become a phenomenon. And, the peak of the 90s when the previous live action films came out, which we'll have to talk about on another episode. Maybe we'll read the original comic and we'll do those. The men in rubber suits.
Yeah.
It was a phenomenon. It was, they were on national American TV they were touring the country, albums and all sorts. It was crazy. This is why it became such a big thing. Not because necessarily the comics themselves, but because of the tie-in merchandise, because of the toys, the cartoons and all of this.
Oh, so those turtles were allowed to do tour press, but these turtles weren't.
These turtles are not. And to be fair, those turtles also heavily used sponsorship and product placement and all of that. Very commercialized as well. So, I mean, it's not a new thing for the Turtles by any stretch, but yeah, maybe we should move swiftly on.
Something that I do want to talk about is the artwork because, like I said, I read the first 4 issues in one go. They're all the same artist, I'm pretty sure. When you then start to go into the one-shots, and even in the issues after that, the artwork does change around.
Yes.
It's a little bit distracting, but it's not a bad thing. Some are scrappier, some are brighter, some are clearer. But overall, it keeps the same vibe.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it would have made sense to do the one-shots with a different artist and then keep the same artist along the issues.
Yeah.
But, I mean, maybe things happen in life. You can't always keep the same person on the same job.
I think that's it. And also there's writing schedules to keep to. Obviously, it takes a lot longer to draw a comic than it does to write it. So they can write a comic and they can give it to 2 different artists. They can give, issue 1 to one and issue 2 to another. And then when issue 1's done, they can move on to issue 3. So you quite often get multiple artists working on a single title, especially if it's a regular title. Like you say, though, I like that the one-shots, I liked the variance in arts for the one-shots. I like the more cartoony style for the Donatello story, for instance, and the Michelangelo ones, which were more cartoony storylines.
Yeah.
They were more sort of hijinks and heist-type capers, whereas, you had the darker, grittier ones, which had a bit more scrappy art. So, yeah, I liked that use of art to lend personality to the central character, the one that it was covering that issue.
Well, talking about personalities, I didn't realise that in the comics and the earlier ones, they all have the red on.
Yes.
And I was thinking, this is weird. Why don't they all have the same colour? No, why do they? You know what I'm trying to say?
I think so.
And then when they did the little flashback to the 4 kids in Japan, they actually are all wearing, as in their clothes, are the Turtles' colours.
Yeah.
And this is just before Splinter hands out their new colours, if you will.
Yeah, because obviously this is what I was saying about bringing these different iterations of the Turtles together, because the original comic, they did all just have red eye masks. They all had those red ones. It was only, I think, when the cartoon was coming out that they wanted to differentiate, because it would make it easier to sell toys, because you could have different colours for each one. And so, yeah, that is something they brought in. And so that's what this comic does again. It has an origin with just the red ones and then has them changing over to their individual colours. So that's what I mean again about using all of the history of all these different versions and combining it to create one big storyline. But we talked about Daredevil earlier. I hope we didn't eat into your Easter eggs too much with that discussion.
I don't think we did. I'm pretty sure we'll be fine to continue.
Great. Well, in that case, are they... I was going to say, are they turtle eggs? But I think that would be disgusting to eat. So,
Stop yoking around, you.
Okay.
Iain's egg hunt. Iain's egg hunt. Iain's egg hunt.
I'm not yoking you. Right, so in this film, surprisingly, there is no Stan Lee cameo.
Is there not?
No, but one of the creators, Eastman, does make an appearance as one of the doctors.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
I mean, I didn't know what he looked like, so it was very hard for me to find him. But,
he's one of them.
Yeah, he's one of them in the background somewhere.
Yeah.
And,
is he one of the ones who experiments on the turtles? Is that the idea?
Doing research, I think it was the William Fichtner scene where the turtles are trapped and
oh, right.
they're poisoning one of their guys, I think. I don't know.
Okay.
I've seen a still from it, but I can't find it in the film. But I didn't look that hard because I didn't want to waste life.
No.
But yeah, speaking of Eastman, those weird CGI cartoony opening, he actually drew.
Oh, cool.
Which, yeah, there you go. But also, his name and Laird's name is actually on the cover of that book that Splinter finds in the sewers. Right at the bottom, it says Eastman and Laird, as in, like, they're the writers of the book.
That's quite
a little
cool.
cheeky little Easter egg.
I was going to say that animation at the beginning was the only bit about the film that Haley liked. That's good. That's the original artists involved. That's good.
But yeah, in the film, there is a scene where pizza gets cut in the air with a sword and then lands on, well, one slice lands on Splinter's head. And I think this is an homage to the 90s film, because pretty much the same scene happens, and then everyone gets a slice in their plate, but a slice lands on his head.
Yeah.
Maybe they know something about it.
Yeah, maybe they've watched that and they tried to inject a bit of fan service. That was a Pizza Hut pizza. I mean, they live in New York. There is a million better pizzas to eat in New York than Pizza Hut, surely.
I don't know. Yeah, sure. I've only been once.
Obviously, people who live in the sewer haven't got much taste, it seems.
Yeah, we didn't actually bring this up, and I thought we would bring it up earlier on. But not only does the classic Turtles van appear at the end of the film, but the horn is the cartoon theme song.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there you go.
It was too late for the film by that point, to be honest. It was...
You just gave up at that point.
Yeah, just willing it to end.
But yeah, here's a deep dive Easter egg for you.
Okay.
The song that Michelangelo sings to April in that scene is Happy Together by a band called The Turtles.
Oh.
There you go. It's not quite the Batman soundtrack, that old Easter egg.
That old Easter egg. Yeah, it's not the Batman or... Yeah, no, okay. Right, yeah, I suppose that's an egg. A turtle egg.
Turtle egg. And then I'll end on a comic Easter egg.
Ooh.
I do like finding a comic Easter egg. I mean, you said it earlier on, but Donatello, in his one shot, his forum name is Does Machines 84. Again, like we said earlier on, that's a reference to the cartoon theme song. But also, 84 is the year the first comic came out.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's just quite clever, that one.
Yeah, I like that. Again, made by people who care. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit, you know. Maybe I'm giving an Easter egg in one, a really like, oh, they obviously care. And then an Easter egg in the film, I'm like, well, they don't give a shit. That's just fan service.
Yeah, Sodom.
How dare they? Yeah. All right, cool. Any more?
Top of my head, one of the turtles says Raph is doing his Batman voice, and Will Arnett played Lego Batman.
Wow, that's just you've got eggs on the brain.
I'm covered in eczema. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I think that's another matter. That's a conversation to have with your doctor. Okay. All right, well, let's get back to the film and the comic book then and just wrap things up. So, overall, your thoughts on the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the IDW issues that we've read?
Film? Nope. Not for me.
Okay.
As bad as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I've seen it once before. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. Comic though, I'm glad that I read it.
Oh, good.
If I didn't watch the 90s cartoon and it was literally just the film and the comic, like I said, I don't think the film would have inspired me to go back to read it. But because I know that you have got all this lore and history to the Turtles, that I know most about it from the cartoon, I was excited to read it. Like that, it took me a while to get into, not too long, but once you get into the world of the Turtles on the page, it actually is quite a fun read.
And will you continue reading it, or?
Yeah, I think at some point. I mean, I keep on saying that I'll continue reading stuff, and then I keep buying it, and then it keeps going on my shelf. So I do want to, but I think there's other stuff that I'll be reading first.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Your thoughts on the film and the comic?
Well, I think I made my thoughts on the film quite clear. I think it's absolutely terrible.
Oh, I thought you loved it. Sorry.
No. I'm sorry if I gave you that impression. But no, I think it's just, it's not funny. The action isn't exciting. Megan Fox isn't there to do any acting, just to be ogled by just about every male involved, including the director and the cameraman for some reason. The Turtles have got no personality, and it's all just a slog until you get to a final CGI battle with a robot Shredder for some reason. I don't know why they had to make him a robot.
Yeah.
Presumably because for some reason they had also given the Turtles super strength. Who knows why? Just like ninjas. The comic, though, as I say, I really enjoy it. As a fan of these characters, I don't think you'll necessarily get a lot out of it if you are not interested in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but that's the case for all superhero comics, really. If you are not particularly interested in that, if you don't give a shit about the Marvel Universe, you're not necessarily going to pick up Iron Man and really enjoy it, even if it's a good run, because it is largely contained within a very strict format of superheroics. But if you are into action comics, if you are interested in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you want to read a story with them that is ongoing and in-depth and has scope and depth and a logical arc for each of these characters, I definitely say you could do a lot worse than the IDW run. I think it's probably, as I said earlier, the best version of Turtles outside of whatever you're familiar with.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
And I suppose it's time for KQO, Kate's quick opinion. What was her thoughts on the film?
Oh, adding in a little cheeky quick there, are we? Yeah, so she said, I don't really have very much to say about it.
Well, it's not so much an opinion then, but okay. I mean, that's...
That was it. She was like, oh, I don't really care. Like, it's just like a very...
In many ways, it says more than words ever could. Okay. Right, well, I think that's it for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for this episode. Have you got any other business?
Yeah. I mean, have you ever wondered what turtle you are?
I'm not a turtle. I'm a human being.
If you were a turtle, have you ever wondered which turtle you would be?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, no, I think I'd probably be a snapping turtle.
Oh, okay. Are you a fan of pizza?
You know I'm a fan of... No, yeah, sure. Who isn't a fan of pizza? Apart from if you're lactose intolerant, I suppose, maybe.
Shall we order some pizza and see which turtle we are?
It sounds like that's what we're doing, so okay.
Yeah, I thought I'd do something a bit different this episode. I couldn't be asked to do a quiz. We did What Have You Been Up To in the last episode.
We did.
So I have found a Buzzfeed quiz.
Right.
That you choose what pizza you want to order, and it tells you which turtle you are.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah, can't wait for this. Well, let's find out. So, fire away.
Do you want to open it on yours as well?
Oh, we're going to do it for each?
Yeah.
Have you got...
Give me one.
All right, hold on a second then. Okay. Disagree and exit. Okay, I've got it in front of me here then. So, am I doing yours or are you doing mine? Who's going first? What's going on here?
We'll answer on our own screens for our own order.
Well, hold on. No, that's a bad way of doing it.
Right.
You tell me your answers, I'll tell you my answers, and then we can reveal what turtles we got at the end.
I like that.
There we go.
Okay, so first up then. What crust do you want? Thin, deep dish, thick, or stuffed?
Oh, I am not a traditionalist and I like to annoy Italians wherever possible. So I will go with a stuffed crust.
Oh, you know what? Me too.
You're going to go for stuffed crust as well?
I do love a good old cheese and pepperoni stuffed crust.
Okay. Right, well, next question here is, what kind of sauce do you want? Well, this is a weird one. Red sauce, white sauce, barbecue sauce, or just olive oil, like some sort of madman?
Who's ordering just olive oil? Anyway. I'd say red sauce. I assume that's tomato sauce.
I assume that's tomato sauce or marinara of some description. Yeah, I mean, I'll go for red sauce. I mean, at the moment, I'm seeing that we might end up being the same turtle, but we'll see if that continues.
So, what cheese? No, hold on. So, you want cheese, right? That's how it's worded.
That is how it's worded. Well, it is a Buzzfeed quiz, I suppose.
The answers are, yeah, duh. I want vegan cheese. No cheese, man. And actually, I want extra cheese.
I'll go for extra cheese, please.
I will go for, yeah, duh.
You're going, yeah, duh. Okay, right, there we go. Picked for you.
Find too much cheese can be a bit too greasy.
Hey, Ian, pick a meat.
Pick a meat, any meat.
Pick a meat. Pepperoni, salami, bacon, sausage, prosciutto, or no meat for me.
Oh, I know what you're going to put.
Yeah, you probably can guess.
I'm going to go for bacon.
You're going bacon. All right, bacon. I will select that for you. And you can probably guess, yes, as a vegetarian, I will go for no meat for me, please.
No meat for you. Okay. Next question.
Yeah, I've just seen it.
You want more meat? Again, pepperoni, salami, Canadian bacon.
Don't know what that is.
Prosciutto. sausage, bacon, barbecue chicken, and no more meat, which I can already guess yours is no more meat. So we'll do that one for you.
I'm going to go for no more meat. Funnily enough, I'm not going to go no meat with a side of meat. What do you want?
I'll go for barbecue chicken. There you go.
The bacon and barbecue chicken. Well, sounds great. Hey, Ian, why don't you pick another topping, this time one that isn't meat?
Oh, I'm going to go for...
we've got...
sorry. Options, please.
I mean, I don't think this is endless. You can't pick anything. The options here are green peppers, black olives, mushrooms, jalapenos, arugula, which I think is rocket for those who speak English in this country, and also none of that. So what option do you want to go for?
None of that. I'm going to go for jalapenos.
Yeah, same.
Yep.
I like it spicy.
Like a spicy. Hey, Ian.
Oh, yeah.
Pick one more topping.
One more, you say?
Pineapple.
Yep.
Anchovies. Fried egg. Artichoke hearts. Or ricotta. Actually, sorry. Or no more.
Well, I've already gone for extra cheese, and I'm not going to have anchovies as a vegetarian. I think I'm going to go divisive here. I'm going to put pineapple on my pizza.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. I mean, I'm with you. I'm going to go a bit outlandish and put a fried egg on mine.
You just made a full English breakfast. If you had put sausage instead of chicken, you would have had a full English breakfast pizza here. It would have been great.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Right, so finish it.
Okay.
We've got Parmesan,
Can't eat
hot
it.
sauce, fresh basil. No.
No, I know I won't finish it.
Just no.
Well, I can't eat parmesan because it's got meat rennet in it. Fresh basil sounds good, but as I said earlier, I like it spicy. Let's go for hot sauce.
Like a spice. I got the hot sauce too, please.
You want hot sauce? All right. Okay, I have an answer for you. Do you have an answer for me?
I do have an answer for you. I will give yours first.
Okay.
But I'll use a famous phrase which you might guess who you are. You are a party dude.
Oh, yeah. I'm Shredder.
You're Michelangelo, boy. Shredder? I
Hardly knew her. Hey!
We lasted almost an episode without saying it. You are Michelangelo.
Okay, Michelangelo. I mean, in fairness, I am a party dude. And there's one thing I know about Michelangelo, apparently, is he's a vegetarian.
Oh, yeah, actually, the little caption under it says, "You're a simple turtle with simple tastes. You like your pizza classic, red sauce, lots of cheese, and maybe some pepperoni."
No, this is wrong. I mean, that is, completely wrong. No. Do you want me to tell you who you got?
Yeah, go on, and use a classic phrase so I can try and guess it.
Okay, a classic phrase. All right. I'm going to do an impression of this character as I imagine him. Oh, God, leave me alone, Mum. You just don't understand me.
Casey Jones?
Which turtle is that?
Probably Raphael, I assume.
Yeah, that's how I imagine Raphael, if you knew him in real life, would talk. Raphael is who you are. You are a bold turtle and you need a bold pizza. Lots of meat, aggressive veggies, throw some hot sauce on there. You want it all.
And I want it now.
That actually does sound like you, in fairness.
To be fair, yeah, meat and hot sauce. That's my pizza.
That does sound about right. Are you happy with that result? Because I was going to ask, and it might seem like a strange question considering we're not 8 years old, but do you have a favourite Ninja Turtle?
I mean, I did piss on him a while ago about being the arsehole character that doesn't follow the orders.
Yeah.
But I think Raphael is maybe my favourite. If not, it's Michelangelo.
Okay.
I do like his sort of cool dude kind of, I'm Raphael, boy. And then also Michelangelo's like, hey, cowabunga, man.
Just like you, in many ways.
Classic me.
Always say cowabunga, skateboarding by my house. And then I come out and say, hey, Ian, what's going on? And you're like, leave me alone, I'm a loner.
Hey, I'm so grumpy.
And then you skateboard away.
Yeah.
See, I just think Raphael would be really annoying if you knew him in real life. You'd be like, oh, Jesus, but just calm down. It says he's cool but rude or something in the intro song.
Yeah.
But it's like, just don't be rude. Just be cool instead.
All right. Even though you're not 8 years old, who's your favourite turtle?
Donatello.
Donnie.
Always been a Donatello fan.
Bit Donnie.
I love Donatello. He's my boy. I always like tech and intelligent characters in teams when it comes to stuff like this. I think because I'm not very techie at all, I'm always like, I wish I was that guy.
I wish I was clever.
I wish I could do machines.
Oi, oi.
Not like that.
Second favourite?
But like I always like Beast in the X-Men and stuff like that.
Hey,
and
well, I was going to go, hey, he's blue as well, but that's Leonardo. I'm getting my colours confused.
that's Leonardo. I'm going to go second favourite Leonardo, and then we can represent all of the turtles between us.
Yeah, respect. Take that, turtles.
Respect.
That's a respect.
That is how you respect Raph. Jesus.
I really hate these new names. Raph, Leo, Donnie. Donnie.
Donnie.
And Mikey, is it that they call him? I just call them by their full names.
But they're just sort of shortened versions of their long names. I mean, it's not like they're new names.
Yeah, I mean, if they called him Mike and then Don, fair enough. But because it's like, hey, I'm Mikey. Hey, I'm Donnie. And it's like, oh, it annoys me.
It's a bit too American for these New York sewer-dwelling turtles. That's where you draw the line.
Hey, I'm walking here, eating my Pizza Hut whilst getting paid by Domino's or I don't know.
And then Zoom calling. No, it was not Zooming, Skyping.
Skyping your mum.
Yo, I'm Skyping me eating some Pizza Hut. Anyway, I feel like we're going back.
Hey, I'm Skyping here.
And on that note, I think it's time to draw a line under this episode. Thank you all very much for listening. If you enjoyed it, then why not give us a cheeky little subscribe? That's a weird way of saying that. Let's not do that. Thank you very much for listening.
I quite liked it.
Yeah? All right, maybe we'll go with it. If you enjoyed it, then why not give us a cheeky little subscribe? Yeah. Maybe a 5-star review while you're at it, eh? Go on, you know you won't regret it.
Apparently, you can do that on Spotify now as well.
Who knew? Well, Ian,
I
apparently.
did. Me.
Good. As always, you can get in touch with us via all of the usual avenues, including Twitter at becometheteapot and email becometheteapot@hotmail.com. We're also available on YouTube, Instagram, etc. Next episode is Wanted. Well, I suppose that remains to be seen, but we will be talking about the 2008 action film Wanted, which is based on a comic of the same name by Mark Millar and J.G. Jones.
Yes, I've always wanted to learn how to bend a bullet. By the way, spoiler for next episode, I've not seen it.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the trailer and they bend a bullet.
They do bend a bullet. They don't, as far as I know, don't do it in the comic. We'll find out. Next episode.
Dun dun dun.
No, it goes, a-do-do.
A-do-do. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun.
Every time you say something, I'm like, oh, I can say something interesting about that. And then that doesn't help us lead on to some eggs. Should we hit stop? That's quite a short episode.